You're gonna need more than a can of Raid and a roach motel to contain the monsters in today's movie. These roaches mean business. Welcome to Sick Flicks, where I take a deep dive into the cinematic sewer to help you embrace your inner gore geek. I'm Mike Bracken, aka the Horror Geek, and today we're tackling Terence Winkless's killer cockroach flick, The Nest. Released in 1987, this one will make anyone who doesn't like roaches squirm. Filled with gooey practical effects, they really don't make them like this anymore. I can't think of any higher praise for it than that. But enough about that. Can The Nest devour enough people to earn a coveted 5 barf bag rating? Let's get to the gore and find out. Oh, and before we get started, today's video is brought to you by patrons Benjamin Button, Fuzzball67, and Jim Dow. If you'd like to help sponsor some videos and free me from the shackles of YouTube's tyranny, you'll find a link to my Patreon in the pinned comment and description below. Seriously, every bit helps keep this show rolling. And now, let's get bloody. We fade in on whatever this is. Is this gonna be some abstract artsy movie? I just came for the roaches. And it's nice to see we're continuing the 80s horror movie tradition of making the lowest effort title card possible. Then we start the movie proper. This lighthouse sure is pretty. Oh hey, here's a live look at me procrastinating. But I don't want to write another episode of Sick Flicks today. Okay, that's not really me because that dude's wearing jeans and I don't even own a pair of jeans. Hell, I barely own pants. Ah, look, I think he's calling in sick to try and get out of this movie. Wait a minute, there was a novel version of The Nest? I might have to track that down. And produced by Julie Corman, which will help smooth things over when they steal some footage from Humanoids from the Deep later. Directed by Terence H. Winkless. Winkless went on to direct 38 episodes of the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers TV show. Man, this guy's a terrible cop. He can't even stop this dude on the moped. And I had no idea Homer Simpson opened a fumigation business. Must have been after he shut down Mr. Plow. Inside, it's probably not a good thing the cook is reading how to make scrambled eggs while he makes scrambled eggs. Oh shit, it's like a younger version of Barth from You Can't Do That on Television. The hat says Gilligan, but the goatee says Evil Gilligan. Over in another movie, Chief Brody heads out to examine the remains of Chrissy Watkins. And just to keep the Jaws theme rolling, here comes Hoagie. It's plain to see this is all just padding the runtime here. The sheriff's like, do you know why I pulled you over? This lady is way overdressed for this movie. She does realize this is a flick about killer roaches, right? Sweet, check out her pearl necklace.
Hell yeah.
No, not like that, you pervs. She's actually wearing a pearl necklace. Oh good, we're just in time for the Fish-O-Whack Festival? That sounds dirty. I don't know about you guys, but I'm starting to suspect the sheriff sucks at his job. I mean, these guys are clearly jaywalking right in front of him and he just keeps driving. But sure, he's got time to stop and harass this old lady. Her tax dollars, hard at work. Over in yet another movie, we find this guy. This dude is basically the 80s in human form. Nice stash. While he's jibber-jabbering away, this dude's checking the script to see if they added any new scenes for him. Anyway, there's nefarious dealings afoot.
Intech is going to take this backward little island into the 20th century.
No idea what any of this has to do with roaches, but if watching all these B-movies over the years has taught me anything, it's that it's all gonna come together at some point. Now give me some sugar, baby. House establishing shot. And Elizabeth's already putting the moves on the sheriff.
Want to get together tonight?
Sure, you can give me a call. My number is 911. This place looks suspiciously like the house from Beyond Darkness and Zombie 5 killing birds, even though it isn't. Then things get awkward as she walks in on her dad going through his stash of nudie mags. I know those damn TPS reports are in here somewhere.
Look at a legal precedent.
Yeah, I think you meant the barely legal precedent. And lighthouse establishing shot. This is very illuminating. Listen, Mayor, we've got to close the beaches. Wait, wrong movie. But I sure wish we were watching Jaws. Turns out the lighthouse keeper is missing, but this guy is a lousy cop, so all he finds is this jump scare. Budget Ernest Borgnine here is a real jokester. And why does the mayor look like he's starring in an ad for an erectile dysfunction pill? Elizabeth has questions.
What happened to Mom's shell collection?
Oh, I shold it. Shold it. I sure hope you appreciate the fact that I'm working at the top of my game right now. After some familial bonding, Beth heads out and finds this dog. He's clearly mutts about her. From there, she finds Intech HQ. definitely not skimping on security. And while she's over there, the roaches are making their move for Cujo. Then the sheriff shows up to work the scene. This was no boating accident. Looks like that dog got boned. Something was clearly bugging him. I'm guessing they can just transport the corpse in a doggy bag. Since that was a lot of excitement, let's settle things down with another house establishing shot. I'm 99% sure this is the exact same one from earlier. And all he finds out here is the mayor, who wants to put Automan on the case. You kids even remember Automan? Christ, I'm old. Is it just me or is Sheriff Dick here spending way more time with his ex than his waitress girlfriend at the diner? But turns out this meeting is all business. Exposition business.
Intech's building condos up there. Your father made a deal with them to develop the island.
I wonder if Intech is responsible for all those roaches. We're not invited in for this scene? I suppose we can just eavesdrop from out here. And these two are still flirting. Christ, just get a room already. Is it wrong that every time she calls him Richard, I hear Chris Farley and Tommy Boy? Because if it is, I don't want to be right.
Oh, Richard, I'm so happy. Hold me. Don't run away from your feelings.
Then we get a little something for the ladies. Or the fellas. I can't believe it's not Ernest Borgnine in his intimate evening wear. Ha, great. Templeton's dead. Sweet, this shot is filmed in Roach Vision. There's really nowhere to go but up from here. He makes the always wise decision to hide in his bed, and man, these are some pretty savage bed bugs. I mean, it's like a Nick Cave song with this red right hand. New house establishing shot. This is extra weird because the next scene is not in the house we just established. I'm gonna go out on a limb here and say Homer thinks of something totally different than bugs when anyone mentions roach to him. And as proof, he gives the sheriff the weirdest bong ever. Over at the diner, there's trouble in paradise.
Awfully quiet in here this morning.
Well, yeah, you spent the whole day with your ex. And I guess since we spent the money to rent this plane for the afternoon, we better get in some more shots. Turns out the plane brought us a new character. This is Dr. Hubbard. Is she gonna hit on the sheriff too? Because I've already stretched my willing suspension of disbelief to the max by accepting that Elizabeth and the waitress both have the hots for him already. Hey, it's a Seymour Butts movie.
Hell yeah.
No, not like that. I mean, this dude's ass is making a cameo. Speaking of Deputy Dick, he stops by to see the mayor and the doctor. Can I offer you some warm J&B from my thermos? I only backwashed a little bit. Then it's time for a dog topsy on the dead mutt. I can't show you that because PruTube, but believe me, it's a good looking effect. And I will say it looks like Doc Hubbard is boning up for her final at veterinarian college. Over at the local grocery store, there's an emergency. But honestly, this is all pretty low stakes. Also, $3.26 for a T-bone. God, I miss the 80s. While they're busy checking out those mistakes, the mayor and Hubbard are hunting roaches. But they need bait. Wait, never mind.
Kitty.
Oh God, this is about to turn into Men Behind the Sun, isn't it? I don't think these people understand cat ownership. You don't put them in an aquarium. And here come the roaches. I do wonder why all the roaches sound like they sprung a leak. I mean, I live in Florida and we have roaches the size of Winnebagos here, but they never make a peep. And so much for Garfield. Lighthouse establishing shot. Inside, Doc Hubbard's hair has me convinced she's auditioning for Cats later. And speaking of cats, looks like we might be about to get a cat fight as Sheriff Dick's two main squeezes meet up. Now it's time for a cat autopsy. You could say this is a real catastrophe. And now Doc Hubbard is Lady Macbeth. Back at the house, Beth is doing some unpacking. Aw, how sweet. They kept the newspaper highlighting Mom's overdose. Sweet, my term paper from sophomore honors English. I look at that thing and I can literally hear the dot matrix printer in my head. Not seeing Mordor or One-Eye Willie's treasure anywhere on this map. Wow, pleated high-waisted jeans. And it's really worth something. I'd say this was more fun than poking a dead cat with a stick, but this is basically poking a dead cat with a stick, I think. Lighthouse establishing shot. Drink. Back at the lab, Hubbard is conducting important scientific experiments to see if they can get this roach baked. God, that roach is going to be higher than egg prices. Not gonna lie though, he's living my dream life. Totally blasted and passed out on a pile of meat.
Hell yeah.
Elizabeth, meanwhile, is exploring. Found this cave that's all sealed up with a do not enter sign. I should totally go in. What will she find in here? Based on my previous Sick Flicks episodes, my guess is cannibals, zombies, or a bunch of alien eggs. All I know for sure is it seems clear that she's in some pretty cave danger. Oh, sweet, they wrote their love in toxic waste reanimator reagent. Oh, come on, she wouldn't find a Monopoly game in here. Everyone knows she'd find old copies of Penthouse and Hustler. Hey, look, Sheriff Richard is actually doing his job for a change. Let's pretend it's opposite day, Homer. I'm gonna give you my license and registration. Oh, very funny, Richard, dumping a bunch of mice turds in my hand. I probably have the plague now. I'm not sure why, but I suddenly want a donut with chocolate sprinkles. Back at the lighthouse, it seems like Hubbard and the mayor are listening to the movie, too.
Seems Hubbard was a hotshot in genetics at MIT a few years back.
Elizabeth, meanwhile, is still exploring the cave. You could call this J.J. Walker because it's dynamite. And here come the roaches. Or a really short cameraman. Could go either way. I like that Beth has a flashlight. This cave is already brighter than the sun. She's wandering around and takes some sack to the chin.
Hell yeah.
No, well, maybe yeah. I have no idea what those things are, but they definitely look like balls. She flees right into a Claudio Fragasso movie if this fog machine abuse is any indication. Oh yeah, this is just another day in Florida. Fun fact, they used real roaches in this movie, and the studio they shot at apparently had a roach problem for years afterwards. I wonder why. Nighttime house establishing shot. Inside, Sheriff Richard is tendering his resignation. I sure hope no one badgered him into resigning. From there, we head over to the diner for a little dumpster diving. I call dibs on the half-eaten burrito. Looks like the roaches already beat him to it, though. And another house establishing shot. This movie is like 50% establishing shots so far. Meanwhile, the mayor is making some calls. Get me the president. Remember Mom's accidental death? Not so accidental after all.
Beth was an accident.
She knew how many pills to take.
Of course, after that, they're gonna hook up. Richard's like, I gave your dad my badge, but I still have my cuffs. Yep, typical bachelor pad, roaches everywhere. While they're getting down and dirty, it seems Homer's decided to drop off his urine sample with Budget Borgnine. Borgnine is basically a roach buffet, though, and I'm probably gonna get demonetized if I show that. Needless to say, it's rather Kafka-esque. The mayor, meanwhile, is on the phone.
Is it possible you're overreacting, Elias?
Overreacting? Have you seen this guy's performance so far? Dude has one expression. Inscrutable scowl / I'm trying to hold in a fart. I'm not sure what's grosser in this movie, the rampant roaches everywhere or watching Sheriff Richard hook up. My gut says the latter. Hey, I forgot to pack my toothbrush. I mean, you don't mind if I use yours. Oh yeah, this is totally Florida. Next, we jump over here, where this roach is trying to hook up. Come on, I just want to snuggle. We'll say she's going to extreme lengths to hit her protein macro for the day. Lighthouse establishing shot. Inside, Doc Hubbard is scoping things out. Oh, hi there. And the news is about to get worse.
Subject's DNA proves a remarkable capacity for adaptation.
Now the roaches are even cutting off the power. Does this make them lightning bugs? Hey, this truck crashing off the bridge is from Corman's Humanoids from the Deep. These roaches are gonna put La Cucaracha on repeat on the jukebox.
I cannot change 100.
Guaranteed these guys aren't getting an A at their next health inspection. Back at the mayor's place, he's hard at work recording the first episode of his new podcast. Fortunately, we have an exterminator still on the island. Homer's mixing up an industrial strength batch of Raid. Man, he's really pumping this thing.
Hell yeah.
No, not like that. The pump on his sprayer. Wait, that still sounds sturdy. I'd say he blew up the house, but yeah, this is more footage from Humanoids. Lighthouse establishing shot. This is like Establishing Shot, the movie at this point. Back at the station, the sheriff finds Millie, the dispatcher. Looks like she's unarmed. Next, he heads over to the diner to break up with his girlfriend. She seems pretty chill. I mean, she's given him the cold shoulder, but he earned it after cheating on her with his ex. From there, they head to the lighthouse, where things get weird.
I wish you were a man.
Okay. And the mayor finally spills the beans.
So you invented something. A roach that eats other roaches.
Cannibal roaches? That's a new twist for this show.
It's quite lovely, actually.
This lady is way too into roaches. Back at the mayor's place, the roaches make their move, and I'm not convinced a shotgun is going to stop them. Hey, let us in. We just want to crash in your cabinets and eat all your food. But the mayor's about to extinguish any hope of their survival. Honestly, this sums up the movie pretty well. It's been a real draining experience. Downstairs, it looks like this avocado has gone bad. And the mayor has picked a really terrible time to have an IBS flare-up. Don't look now, but the bugs are rapidly approaching. I guess the movie got tired of roaches because now Sheriff Richard and the team are getting attacked by the dead cat. Yeah, whatever. Let's just roll with it. Well, that's definitely one way to skin a cat. Then the cat makes its move. This thing is not kidding around. And then it gets crushed. I can assure you, this cat is not feline fine. Back at the house, Elizabeth is trapped in the closet. Yes, it was open since R. Kelly's trapped in a jail cell, where he belongs. Looks like Richard might have come down with a case of cat scratch fever.
Your face is no emotion. I could be dying. Wouldn't make any difference.
It's a good thing his name is Richard because he's kind of a dick. Lighthouse establishing shot. Followed immediately by a house establishing shot. It's a twofer. Richard might need to reconsider this new romance because Elizabeth's coming out of the closet. I love that this truck isn't moving. The crew is just off camera rocking it on the shocks. And Elizabeth is in danger because here comes the mayor. I suppose we really could call him Papa Roach at this point. There's some sweet Fulci-esque eye violence here, but I'm probably going to get age-gated over that. I guess it is fitting that Dad is a Papa Roach too, because Elizabeth is going to have to blast him with the shotty as her last resort. This may not be on the level of Cronenberg's The Fly, but I dig it anyway. And another lighthouse establishing shot. Now it's time for another great moment in horror film acting.
Who is in charge here, Sheriff?
No! I'm going in.
It's like a competition to see who can overact the most. With the clock ticking, everyone heads back to the cave to find the Queen Roach. I thought this was going to be a stand-up fight, but apparently it's just another bug hunt. Shit, looks like we just wandered into a Roger Dean album cover. Back in the main cavern, Elizabeth has started the timer for the rest of this movie. Thank God it's almost over. Great, Hubbard's found the testes. With time running out, she's apparently about to give this one a vasectomy. God damn, another establishing shot. Come on, movie. This thing probably ends with a freeze frame establishing shot. Oh hey, it's the Queen. She's looking great. Very Day of the Dead. Turns out this Queen is pretty handsy. And Hubbard does her best Hemingway and bids farewell to her arm. Guess we'll be calling her Lefty from now on. Richard shows up to save Elizabeth just in the nick of time. Clearly there was a lot of methane in this cave, judging by that explosion. At least they didn't borrow this from humanoids from the deep. Ah, Jesus, another establishing shot. This has to be a record. Then Rick and Beth make it to safety. But you know there's a swerve ending coming. Wait for it. Yeah, there it is. So, what have we learned from The Nest? Nothing new, really. I mean, roaches will outlive us all. This is one of those quintessential 80s movies, not because it's great, but because it's so indicative of the era. You'd never get a theatrical release for a movie like this today, but back in the 80s, you'd see stuff like this at your local multiplex all the time before it wound up at the video store. Frankly, I really miss those days. But enough about that. Can The Nest summon up enough creepy crawlies to earn a coveted 5 barf bag rating? Let's go to the gore card. In terms of gross anatomy, The Nest delivers. We got tons of real roaches, an undead cat, 2 giant roach monsters, devoured faces, and Hubbard losing her head at the climax. There was a lot here I couldn't show without earning YouTube's ire, but believe me, this one is chock full of fun practical effects. Because of that, I'm comfortable giving The Nest a very respectable 4 barf bag rating. This is definitely a sick little flick. Looking for another movie filled with flesh-eating creatures you'd find around your house? Then be sure to check out my review of Slugs. You'll find a link here on the screen. I'll meet you over there. Until next time, I'm Mike Bracken, aka The Horror Geek, bringing you all the splatter that matters.